Right, folks, this is a new podcast from the Two Mics, and I'm going to give you old Energy Boy, MG, to introduce it.
Yeah, we've edited out all the nonsense from Mike Porky Parry, so it might be a bit shorter than usual.
Mind-expanding sundown sporting discourse for witches, kebab van owners...
You want some chili sauce with that?
...and washed-up burglars too fat to fit through your cat flap.
You great fat thieving lumper lad!
Cult listening worth staying awake for. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll read that again. Oh no, I was right the first time. The Two Mics on Talk Sport.
Look at the light!
You worry too much about the time.
Yeah, no, I worry about it.
The only thing I could say rabbits to was my ducks on the pond.
Yeah.
But they, just quack, 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 quack.
Yeah,
They don't actually...
not much of a conversation.
No,
really.
exactly.
A bit one-sided. A bit like the show. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics, and it's time to say a very warm welcome to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yes, good morning, Mike. I hope you're well. I see that the Peterson
well,
debate is sliding my way. Sliding my way.
You're not going to start the show with some congratulations?
Congratulations about what?
Because I predicted the final of the Champions League some weeks ago.
Oh, it's a stab in the dark.
No, it was not
a stab in the dark. Of course it was a stab in the dark. What did you say 7 weeks ago?
I said Juventus and Barcelona will be in the final.
Oh, do we have that piece of audio? We're listening to it, are we?
If you want to find it, you'll probably find it.
Sorry, didn't you ask the the head of production and all the guys through there to get
No,
that?
I didn't need to.
No, because it's just a ridiculous flash boast, isn't it?
Well, about this from Daryl, who sent this in on Twitter a bit earlier, IROMG. Didn't you say Barca Juve final, hashtag Mystic MG, hashtag credit where credit is due? You just can't bring yourself to say that I got it right. And
I never heard you say it.
You got it wrong yet again. You said Real Madrid were going to win last night, and I said last night that Juve were going to win.
I didn't say that.
You didn't say Real Madrid were going to win.
I thought Real Madrid would get through.
Yes.
So
you were wrong then.
Didn't say they'd win. I thought
you were
they'd
wrong
get through.
then, weren't you?
Look,
well, how could they have got through without winning? They were 2-1 down.
No. Could have been a combination of odd score lines, which gave
which didn't actually result in them
Real
winning
the advantage.
Well, if they'd scored a draw, then they wouldn't have gone through. Why do you want to move on from this?
This ridiculous boast of yours that you actually
picked
who the Champions
Everybody knows.
League wins. You didn't even know where the Champions League was taking place.
What do you mean I didn't know?
You didn't know where the final was taking place.
I knew it was in Berlin.
You did know it was in Berlin.
Of course I did.
You rattled on last night about I've never been to Berlin, and you didn't know the final was going on.
No, I said I'd never been there, but I certainly knew where the final was. Anyway, you're obfuscating.
I think it's an irrelevant question.
All you've got to say is congratulations, Mike. Well done for predicting the final of the Champions League correctly. It's perfectly simple.
Now, as I said, the Peterson situation.
You just can't do it.
It's irrelevant, and you mustn't waste time with our listeners, just heaping praise on you because at some stage in your inebriated and drunken state in the past, you threw a dart at the wall and said, "Oh, I think it's going to be Juventus
Now, last night,
Barcelona."
The listeners are getting very tired of me doing these retweet or favourite, listener polls because once again last night you proved completely wrong on Kevin Peterson.
Well, we shouldn't have any more. You win them all because you load them.
I don't load them.
Yes, you do. You load them because the thing is, the natural instinct of somebody who's listening to somebody's voice is that the person who's actually speaking, that's you. You always launch the polls.
Yeah.
You've never asked me to launch a poll.
Would you like to launch the poll?
I will launch the poll tonight.
All right, well, launch the poll tonight. Why don't you say to people, does anybody remember Mike Graham predicting the final of the Champions League? Why don't you launch it?
That's not a question.
Why don't you launch it?
No. That's such a leading question because people who like you are going to say yes and people who don't like me are going to say yes, but people who like me, and there are millions of them, may just say yes just to keep me happy and to comfort me.
Why don't we just have an experiment? Why don't you read out the poll?
No, it's a daft poll. We will have a poll tonight on some issue before the end of the show.
Okay, all right. Okay. And you should launch it just so that you don't feel left out.
I'll launch it now, right?
Go on then.
Gareth Bale. Yeah. Is he really a poorer player than he was last season for Real Madrid, or is he becoming the victim of a bullying campaign in Spain? I say he's as good now as ever.
Really?
Yeah. What do you say?
I think he's probably as good as he ever was, but there's a big problem at Real Madrid, which is not his fault, I would say.
Yeah, but you see, I think you're mad, because did you watch the game tonight?
I did.
So did I. Now, I just heard the commentary and all that, and it said, Gareth Bale, open header, and put it over the bar. That was never an open header.
But he did have 6
shots. He was about 12 yards out. There's about 4 men around him. He got up above them all, and he just skimmed it over the bar.
Yeah, I mean, he's been unlucky. I mean, he himself said after the game his finishing's been a bit rusty this season. And I suppose if you're paying that much money for a footballer, you wouldn't expect their finishing to be rusty.
Did you see his attitude after the game?
Yeah.
He had his baseball cap on the wrong way round, so he looked like he was just a kid hanging out in downtown LA, you know what I mean? His attitude was completely relaxed. He was happy to come to the microphone.
Sounds very contented, yeah.
Exactly, come to the microphone, chat about it and say, well, very difficult and, we're going out of that competition and he's going to be a battle now.
Is that you do?
This is my Welsh accent.
Oh, is that your Welsh accent? Okay.
It's going to be a battle now to win the La Liga, but, until it's mathematically impossible, we're not going to give up and all this kind of stuff, right? And he looked to me like a man who was absolutely contented. I would say the individual now who's got more to worry about at Real Madrid than Gareth Bale is, of course, Mr. Ancelotti.
But guys like Ancelotti never look worried to me.
Not an Ancelotti hope of him being around at the start of next season.
Very good. Yes. Have you been thinking that one up all night? Now, no. I mean, I don't think even if he had won and got into the final of the Champions League, even won the Champions League, he would be still hanging around, because I think everyone would say that he's moving on anyway.
Yeah, well, perhaps he is. I don't know. Getting back to Peterson, right?
Yes.
The argument,
let's get back to your favourite subject.
The argument in the debate is coming my way.
Yes.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
How do you figure that out, then?
Did you see David Gower talking on Sky today?
No.
What a powerful interview. He pointed out that,
powerful interview, what, because he agrees with you?
A powerful interview because he was stating the facts as they are.
Right.
Peterson wrote a book. It was his second autobiography. Why did he need a second autobiography? Oh, well, actually, only to slag off almost everybody he's ever played with and against in the game of cricket.
Didn't David Gower write a book as well?
I've no idea.
Well, maybe you should look that up, because I think he did.
No, it's irrelevant.
Why is it irrelevant?
Because I'm talking about Kevin
books.
Peterson.
Well, they all write books about each other.
He wrote a second one. That's what I'm saying, Peterson. David Gower went on to say, he sent abusive texts to the opposition, slating his own captain.
This is old news.
Almost.
Have you got nothing new?
I'm saying this is David Gower.
Have you got nothing new?
This is new, you idiot.
How's
David Gower hasn't spoken
before.
No
need to be rude.
Half-baked pancake. and what David Gower was also saying was he's always been difficult to work with at various counties. Yeah. Now, if you put that together...
None of that is new, by the way.
It is all new. And if you put that together with a piece which appears in tomorrow morning's Times from a man who is lauded as probably the biggest brain in sports journalism, his name is Matthew Side.
Well, even bigger than yours.
Even bigger than mine.
He's a former table tennis player, I understand, isn't he?
Table tennis champion.
Yeah.
Table tennis...
Olympian.
Yeah. Matthew Side says...
good man, Matthew Side.
Very good. Matthew Side believes the batsman should not return for England. Right, that's what he says. No need to review decision to dispense with Peterson. So this man, who's a deep thinker, in fact, I'm being a bit unfair to Matthew. He says, Matthew Side believes the batsman should not return for England, but it was disgraceful to give him false hope. So never mind about the last bit.
So the last bit actually is proving you wrong, in fact.
No. It's the first bit, which is the statement. He should not play for England again. So the argument is all drifting my way, and I always knew it would.
I don't see how it's drifting your way in the slightest.
Do you know what's happening here? Do you know what's happening here?
Have you seen the back page of The Sun?
Do you know? Yes, I have.
England's cowardly buffoons.
Yes, and who's written that?
It's been written by John Etheridge.
John Etheridge is a very, very distinguished and outstanding tennis, cricket correspondent.
Yeah, not normally known to side. Normally known to side with Kevin Peterson, to be honest.
No. But the problem is, if you look at the piece, and I've read it already, England's floundering cricket chiefs have not answered any of Kevin Peterson's bombshell accusations.
Right. In a baffling show of silence, says the second paragraph, the new regime of bigwigs at Lords refused to refute KP's allegations of lies, deception, and that he was tricked into playing for Surrey this summer.
Yeah, but
so why haven't they answered any of those?
Because there's nothing to answer.
Is there not?
All those have been answered already.
How?
All those have been answered. The what's his name, Mr. Gray,
Graves.
Mr. Graves has already said. Well, it was a phone conversation. I'm afraid that Kevin got the wrong end of the stick. He's already said that.
Oh, yeah.
So he's answered that.
So when he said if you play for your county, if you play for Surrey and you start scoring runs, the door will remain open. That's what he said.
Yeah, but hang on. Andrew Strauss has already said that to Kevin Peterson. He's saying, I'm not saying your international career is over under my tutelage. I'm saying that the issue of trust at the moment prevents you from being included in the current squad.
Apart from as a coach, obviously.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's exactly what...
He offered him a job as a coach.
He offered him a position on an advisory board, not as a coach.
Yeah,
he did not offer him a position as a coach.
Well, it's a similar job, isn't it?
No, it's not. It was about who to pick and who to put into coaching jobs rather than being a coach
Well, in any event, they offered him a job. Considering they don't trust him, that seems a bit odd to me, doesn't it?
I don't know how the Sun can actually state this. Oh, deafening silence. There's nothing to answer. Kevin Peterson has made outlandish claims again about, I've been tricked, I've been, undermined, I've been, cheated upon. It's not. It's rubbish. It's rubbish. And with Matthew Side, with David Gower, with myself, I'm telling you now, that this time last week we were preparing to cover the general election, OK?
Yeah.
The most exciting in a generation. And what happened? We found as the following night went on that the silent majority, the shy Tories, came out and voted for them.
Yeah.
What you're finding now is you're finding that the silent majority of shy anti-Petersons are coming out of the woodwork.
There's nothing shy about them. They've been feeding stories to the newspapers for the last 2 years, haven't they?
Coming out of the woodwork.
They're always coming out of the woodwork. That's what I don't like about them, because they don't come out of the woodwork showing their faces. They come out of the woodwork in a sort of a sly, underhanded manner, and what they do is they feed stories out to newspapers and say, this is the real reason, the real reason, but they won't have the cojones to stand up and just admit it.
I'm telling you, Jimmy. By Saturday, there
won't be... Why are you doing a Scottish accent now?
I don't know, I just felt like it. There won't be a Peterson supporter left in this country because the facts of the matter are gradually getting through people's grey matter. And I am the one who's been laying out the facts absolutely, succinctly, clearly and concisely.
Really, indeed. Have you heard that Pear's is leaving the country then, by the way? Is that why there won't be any supporters left here?
No, but I mean, he is a lone supporter. He is a lone supporter.
Well,
I don't think he's leaving the country.
I must say, I'm getting a bit sick of the story, to be fair.
Yeah, I am.
I think it's time we moved on.
I am as well, and I agree with you, but it's not something you can ignore, because you ignore it at your peril. If you ignore stories like this, they leap up and bang, they smack you in the face again.
Here's one from Jan. He says, great prediction, MG. You're very good at predicting a lot of these sporting events. So well done, Mike Graham. Unlucky, Porky, you were wrong.
A load of rubbish.
This is Talk Sport.
And I have never seen that dress you're wearing, or the highlights in your hair that catch your eyes. I have been blind, lady in red is dancing with me, cheek to cheek. There's nobody here, it's just you and me.
This is a very sort of unplugged version of this song, isn't it?
Yeah, who is this?
Who is it?
Yeah.
It's Lady in Red, isn't it?
Yeah, I know it is, but who's singing it?
Do you know who sings Lady in Red?
Yeah, of course I do.
It's Princess Diana's favourite song, wasn't it?
Princess Diana's favourite song, and his daughter is Miss World.
Yeah.
She was the Irish Miss World.
Uh-huh.
Well, she was Miss Ireland, then she was Miss World.
Right.
Krista Berg.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well done.
But I didn't know if that was Krista Berg. I mean, was that like?
Well, I assume so. I think it was just an unplugged version, without all the production values behind it. Now, listen to some of these tweets we've got here.
Yeah, go on.
David says this at the two mics.
Yes.
So Porky takes note of Gower, but not Flintoff, Gough, Stewart, Warne, Lloyd, Boycott, Vaughan, etc. Funny that.
Well, Gower was the most intelligent England captain that I can remember.
And here's another one.
Mike Atherton was.
Well, maybe this will remind you about Mr. Gower. Ian says this. Does Mr. Parry remember how the ECB at the time sacked Mr. David Gower? The cowardice is still going on. He wasn't even told.
I think they sacked him for a misdemeanour involving flying an aeroplane over a cricket field or something, wasn't it?
I think so.
Didn't he? Or something? Or disturbed a game?
Well, he got in trouble for that. Anyway.
Yeah,
I don't know if he got sacked. And his
Yeah.
Zobon says this. Yeah. What's the difference between you, Porky, and KP? You backstab your fellow reporters on Fleet Street, and KP did it in his book.
That's an absolute disgrace to say that. I was never anything but supportive to my fellow colleagues.
Absolute rubbish.
I tell you what,
Absolute and utter claptrap.
Been a few colleagues over the years, maybe in recent years, who stuck the knife right between the old Porky shoulder blades.
Why would they do something like that, though?
Oh, find me ailing in, attached to heart machines, unable to defend myself, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you know
but why would they even want to hurt you?
Because
of all the misdemeanours that you'd committed against them in the past.
No, because I achieved such great heights, great heights of success that, the old green eye sort of got them or whatever. Now, listen, this is the reason we played that red song, right?
Yeah.
Is because a new report's come out saying that people who wear red are more dominant in the workplace, more confident, and put themselves forward. The only thing
I wear red jumpers sometimes.
No. The only thing I would say is nobody who's a normal person wears red. It's a stupid report.
Well, that's not true, because if you remember rightly, going back all the way to the Reagan administration, do you remember who was it, the UPI reporter, who was a very famous old female sort of legendary reporter?
Yeah, she was about 87 and still doing the White House, yeah.
And she used to sit in the front row of the White House press conferences, and she always wore a red jacket because she knew that Ronald Reagan liked red. And he would always pick her to come out and say, was it Helen somebody, wasn't it?
Yeah, Helen somebody, you're right, yeah. But it says here, psychologists have found that people who see a man wearing red regard him as more threatening and aggressive than if he's wearing blue. Well, I don't ever see a man wearing red. Men don't wear red suits. They don't wear red shirts.
If you saw somebody wearing
a red tie, that's about the most of it.
Helen Thomas, her name was.
Helen Thomas, that's right, yeah.
And also there was a cult, actually, of red-jacketed women at Today, when Today newspaper started in 1986.
Well, there were a lot of power dresser women who wore red in the 80s.
Well, the old shoulder pads, but it became...
Eve Pollard used to wear the huge red blazer.
Well, there you go. So you're contradicting yourself.
No, but she's a woman. I'm saying... how often do you see a man wearing red?
Well, I wear a red jumper once in a while.
OK, you wear a red jumper once in a while, but I
haven't got a red suit, that's true.
Exactly, you don't see men in red suits.
What about Jon Snow and his red socks?
Oh, that's all right. Jon Snow's an award-winning broadcaster because he's different, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
And when they told him at Channel 4, you've got to wear a tie every night, but he wanted to be, the unregulated hippie he was.
Listen to the bitterness in your voice.
No bitterness. The unregulated hippie was. He said, OK, you want to wear ties, I'll wear ties. Yeah. So he wore ridiculous coloured ties that, didn't look right.
People once said to me, never wear a tie that's more colourful than you are, and I think he's guilty of that.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
There's another guy that
he's a man, by the way, who recently said, for all his sort of left-wing persuasions and his morality factor in life... You really don't like him, do you? Well, I'm just saying his morality factor in life, and, we have to, have a moral code of conduct, in the world and all this kind of stuff. He's a man who admitted recently that every woman he ever comes across, he weighs up as a potential sex partner.
Victim, you were going to say.
No, I wasn't, no. As a potential sex partner.
Well, Jon Snow does.
Jon Snow said that,
I think I remember you telling me this earlier.
Exactly. And I thought, well,
he's entitled to approach women in any way he wishes,
Well, of course he is. But, I mean, what I'm saying is he goes around the world, telling us all we should have a bleeding heart for every natural disaster, for groups of people who are displaced, for those who are disadvantaged, all of which I agree with, by the way.
Yeah.
But I don't need him to tell me it, because I can think that for myself already, thank you, Mr.
You just don't like
Snow.
him because he didn't acknowledge you on some trip, about 1,000 years ago.
No, he blanked
just bear a grudge. He
blanked me once in a city in the south of the United States of America when we were on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
But on another occasion, this is great, right? We had to go to... Well, it's not great because it's a tragic story. We went to Bermuda, right? And what had happened was... Right. All these young people go around the world on these high, tall mast ships.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do know.
It's a race goes around the world and all that.
It's the Duke of Edinburgh Award thing, isn't it?
Well, it's something like that. I don't know quite who funds it. Anyway, really tragically, off the coast of Bermuda, the Bermuda Triangle, a force, 120-mile-an-hour wind came up behind one of the ships and literally tipped it forwards because the wind went into the sails. And it went straight to the bottom of the sea like a submarine.
Yeah.
It happened in minutes. They were all gone. Never recovered bodies or anything like that, okay? And everybody shot off to Bermuda to do this terribly tragic story and all that kind of stuff. And Jon Snow was there. I remember being in the hotel there. And
was he a reporter for one of the TV networks or something?
ITN.
Okay.
He was a reporter for ITN in those days, right? And I remember we were all sitting in the hotel quite late in the evening. Been out all day. We've been out in boats over to the sea and all this kind of stuff, And all of a sudden he's sitting there and a waiter comes and says, "Oh, is there a Mr. Snow? Here's a phone call." "Oh, not another one," So he goes sloping off. And from where he was sitting to the door was about, good 30 or 40 yards away. So anyway, he's away for a few minutes and he comes back in, stands in the doorway of the, the whole of the lounge and the bar in this hotel and says, "Don't worry, fellas. It was just the editor with the herograms," Oh, right.
Well, why does that bother you so much?
Well, I mean, you don't go around telling people,
well, you would have done.
I'm award-winning broadcaster and all that. Anyway, look, let's get back to the red thing. It says, psychologists have found that people who see him have done that. Right. Now, it says here, here, hang on. This is
listen, what about this tweet before you carry on?
Oh, yeah.
This is from William. He said, "I was listening to Wednesday's podcast. What happened to the man with the electric shock machine that was going to sort out MG's face?"
Yeah, that's right. I was going to bring one in, but I couldn't get hold of one.
Oh, right, okay.
But they are supposed to be available now. Okay. And you come and I electric shock your face and it makes your saliva glands work.
Right.
Now, this report comes from the Royal Society journal, Biology Letters, OK?
Really? That doesn't make any sense.
What do you mean?
No, that's a title of a periodical. That doesn't make any sense.
It's published by the Royal Society, which is the greatest scientific...
Royal Society of what?
Scientific... It's called the Royal Society.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, it's just the greatest scientific organisation in the world, and its HQ is next door to the Iranian embassy, because I remember doing the Iranian embassy siege for about 11 days
Somebody just sent me a picture of you wearing a red shirt.
I've never worn a red shirt.
Well, there's a picture of you wearing a red shirt.
Look.
It looks like an England game at Wembley. And you've got your hands in the air. That's you wearing a red shirt.
No, I've never... That's not me.
I'm going to retweet that.
That is you. That's not me.
That is definitely you.
No,
You've
it's
even
not.
got an accreditation around you.
No. Somebody's put my head on a red shirt.
That is definitely you.
It's not. Now then, let me tell you. So the Royal Society published a journal called Biology Letters. In an experiment, 100 people were shown images of 20 men who had been digitally manipulated to be wearing different coloured shirts, you see. Right. They had to do that because men don't wear red shirts. Red, grey or blue.
There's a picture of Lionel Messi wearing a red suit.
Yeah, well, we know about Lionel Messi's red suit, but I mean, he's the world's top footballer. The normal people don't wear red shirts. Now then, the purpose was to see how far removed we really are from primates. I don't know what this is all about, honestly. What a load of rubbish.
Have you...
Anyway, it goes on to say...
Have you read this before coming in here now and reading it straight off the page?
No. What it says is that people wear red are very powerful. Now, the biggest example of it recently is that most beautiful woman, Christina Hendricks.
Christina Hendricks?
Yeah, from Mad Men.
Oh, right, OK.
Right.
I've never seen that.
Part of the reason why she suddenly became an instant worldwide hit was because the dress that she wore with her ample bosom filling the, the flowing... What's wrong with you?
Ample bosom?
Well,
where have you come from today? You come from a time machine.
No, I mean, isn't it fair to describe Christina Hendricks as a woman? Christina Hendricks as a woman with an ample bosom.
I suppose so. It's just rather old-fashioned.
Exactly. Well, it's. I'm being polite and gentlemanly.
Are you?
And respectful of women.
So, what if you met her? You'd say that's a wonderful ample bosom you've got. Is that what you'd say to her?
No, I wouldn't be so rude as to refer to a woman's body shape.
Well, you've just said that's the polite way of describing it.
I'm talking about it in the third person, aren't I? Apparently...
What a marvellous ample bosom you've got.
You see, you're just being crude. You see... Apparently, when Angela Merkel, the world's most powerful woman...
She wears red quite a lot.
I was about to say, when she needs to get away in some, EU summit or...
I think you've got this all wrong.
Going over to the White House, she puts on a red blazer.
I think you've got this all wrong, right?
I haven't got it all wrong.
How about this from Robert in Belfast? He's texted. He says, my workplace has to wear different colour safety hats depending on the position of the job. Normal workers wear blue and all the managers wear red. So there might be something in it.
There you go. Makes them seem more important, you see.
Yeah.
So I told you all about that, but I do think it's a ridiculous report because men simply do not wear red.
Charles says...
So it's a spurious observation.
Rubbish. Charles says, how about this, lads? Don't forget Tiger Woods always wore red on a Sunday.
He did, that's right, yeah. Did he?
So you just said that men don't wear red.
Well, look, Tiger Woods is the world's best golfer, as was.
Yeah. Rafa Nadal sometimes wears a red tennis outfit, as does Novak Djokovic.
They're the world's top tennis players, you fool.
Yeah, but they're very
Lionel Messi, world's top footballer.
Yeah,
all you're doing is pointing out that people at the very top of their profession wear red.
Loads of people that wear red.
No, what you are endorsing my very point from this report that I've read from the Royal Society.
Which you said was rubbish.
I say that men don't wear red. You're pointing out sporting stars who wear red. That's all. I suppose you're going to tell me next, well, don't you remember the 1966 England football team that won the World Cup were wearing red?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
What do you make of that then?
Yeah, what I make of that is that could have definitely had...
So that proves you're wrong again.
No, it doesn't prove I'm wrong. It proves I'm right. The only thing that you think I'm wrong about is that men don't wear red.
Bayern Munich wear red too, don't they?
Well, if they're playing at home, they've been wearing black recently, haven't they? Well, in all the games we've seen them in. Yeah.
No, that's only because they're playing so badly. Anyway, I don't think you've proved that one at all.
I've proven it conclusively.
This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Go on. Are they a kind of South American band or something?
Well, I think they're singing in Spanish, yeah.
Singing in Spanish, that's what I thought, yes. How do you know it's about bees? Don't speak Spanish,
well, it's not about bees. The band's called the Bees.
Oh, the band's called the Bees, right, OK. Now, the reason we're talking about bees...
I think they're from the Isle of Wight.
The reason we're talking about bees, and you will...
Hang on, can I just read out some more tweets to you before we do any more about that? Yeah. This is from David, who says, well done, Mike Graham, for predicting the Champions League final teams. Parry just cannot admit it. And here's one from Woodenhead, who says, Parry has a go at your predictions. Arsenal asking what happened to his predictions book that he wrote at the start of the season.
Yes.
What happened to that?
I've still got it.
Well, does that predict the Champions League winners or the final?
Well, I didn't get into that because we didn't know who was in the Champions League when we did that.
Here's one from James. He says, you're more of a sports expert than Porky. Well done on your prediction. Porky just holds grudges. Clivey says, yes, you did say Juve were going to beat Real Madrid. Porky wrong once again. VHP says, yes, you definitely called the Champions League final. Ignore that buffoon, Mr. Parry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. There's one here. It says, it's from Adam. He says, right, the only colour that induces more fear than cinnamon. That's red. Run, Porky, run. That's a bit harsh, isn't it? Yeah.
Cinnamon?
Cinnamon's a kind of brownie colour,
I suppose it is,
we're talking about
now, somebody else is saying that Bill Shankly suggested that basically Liverpool should play in red because it was considered to be a more threatening colour.
Well, Liverpool did play in red, but what happened was he decided to turn the white shorts to red shorts and the socks to all red, so it became an all red strip.
Yeah,
which was
Saunders sent us a picture of David Beckham wearing red, red jumper.
Yeah, well, not surprising. He played for Manchester United for about 10 years,
but he's not wearing a Manchester United top.
No.
This red thing of yours is completely off the scale.
Don Revie changed the Leeds colours to all white from white, yellow and blue because he said, I want my boys to feel like they're Real Madrid.
What about this one from Eric?
Worked,
the Navy and Marine Corps Aviation Ordnance wear red. And what about the red arrows, by the way?
Well, they don't wear red uniforms.
Yeah, I think they do.
No, they don't. The planes are red. No, they don't. They don't, I'm telling you.
And I'm wearing red in the podcast picture as well.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose you would. Right, it says here, Barry says, if you look at the image for the Two Mics podcast, MG is wearing red.
That's what I just told you.
Red jumper, yeah. Okay. All right.
Is your attention span even smaller than it normally is tonight?
It says here from Neil, on the ample bosoms quote by Mr. Parry, can we have a carry-on camping alert every time he does his best Sid James? I don't actually do a Sid James impression.
No, you don't.
No.
You have done in the past.
Yeah, maybe I'll work on that one, okay?
Yeah, all right.
Right, it's
Virgin flight attendants. There you go, Richard Branson wearing red with the Virgin flight attendants.
Well, don't you remember that fantastic advert to celebrate 25 years of Virgin?
Yeah.
When they took it back to the 70s, and the guy got out the taxi and dropped his phone, and then all these beautiful girls who were the hostesses came striding through the airport in black stilettos
and red dresses and red outfits.
Red outfits, yeah, looked absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Now, the reason you played that song on the bees, right?
Yes.
It's because we have a bee invasion in this country. It's a bee epidemic, literally.
Yeah. Well, you've been saving them all, that's why.
Well, not that.
You haven't been letting them die a natural death.
No, don't you remember? I said to you months ago, before Christmas, in fact, that I was going to buy my sister a beehive for Christmas.
That's right, you were, yeah.
Now, the reason was... because
it's become quite a trendy thing to keep bees,
well, it is, yeah. I mean, what happened was some guy approached me and said, it's the great middle-class thing now, and particularly down in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey, is to beehives and all that. So I thought I'd get a beehive for my sister.
What, because you're desperately trying to be middle class?
No, because I couldn't think of anything to buy. When, she's kind of the person who's got everything, if you know what I mean, but like I am. It's very difficult to buy.
The person's got everything.
Well, it's difficult to buy Christmas presents.
The person's got everything.
Well, I mean, what would you buy me for Christmas that I haven't got?
A wife.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. I'm talking about, something practical. You see...
Well, that is practical. No, somebody to look after you, somebody to cook for you. All right, well, somebody...
Don't be ludicrous.
Well, a live-in slave, then.
No, don't be silly. If you had to buy me a Christmas present, you can't go into a shop and buy a wife.
I'd get you a case of wine. You can never have enough wine.
Okay, a case of wine's fine. I agree. That's quite practical. But for my sister, she doesn't need any wine. They've got a wine cellar. So I thought, anyway, she didn't want one in the end.
Right.
So
because you were going to get it delivered down there. Remember, you were going to have all the bees sealed up inside
That's right.
And I was suggesting that might make them a bit angry.
On the back of a lorry. But anyway, look, what's happening is, do you remember the story a couple of weeks ago when a couple came back to their car, which was a Mini in a car park?
Yeah.
I think it was somewhere like Maidenhead or something.
Oh, yeah,
like
when it was completely covered.
Because what happens is if the Queen Bee lands anywhere, up to 20,000 of her followers can follow her.
Yeah, right.
And the Queen Bee had got under the bonnet of this car.
Yeah.
And what's happened is now that since that happened, all the sort of bee organisations in this country started collating information, and it's happening on a regular basis.
Right.
So they've had to issue instructions to people.
Because was there not another one where they all flew into a shop or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Last year as well, in a high street.
So they've now had to issue all sorts of instructions on what you should do.
Right.
What you should do if you get surrounded by bees. For instance...
What should you do?
Well, the old thing in cartoons and all that, when you... By the way, seen that terrible rail crash in America?
Yeah, I know, it's awful, isn't it?
On our internal monitors here.
Yeah.
I mean, people have been killed. It's absolutely shocking. And the thing is, I've ridden that rail line...
Yeah, me too. It was the Amtrak Metroliner, I think.
Dozens of times. Yeah. From New York down to Washington and back. And I didn't know it went through Philadelphia. The ones I got were down from, up from the Chesapeake and then round... I didn't know it went through Philly.
Yeah, the fast one one generally does, yeah.
Oh, right, OK. So that's where it's crashed, but that is a terrible, terrible thing, I must say. Do you know that's the only thing that is nationalised in the whole of America?
Yeah.
Amtrak is still nationalised.
It's still much cheaper than anything here.
It is. I would do that in this country. That, you know, the manifesto the other night that we did on election night, I was going to put on there, renationalise the railways, because I think only one person should run a national network.
But the problem with nationalising railways is that they're not very efficient. I mean, I accept that at the moment they don't appear to be run very well.
No.
And I don't agree either with the way that these fat cats seem to be able to cream off loads and loads of money.
It's terrible.
And profits and the commuters suffer.
It's terrible.
However, if you remember what it was like when British Rail was nationalised, it wasn't very good either.
I don't think it was that bad.
Yeah, they were always going on strike.
Yeah, that's true.
They were always going on
They'd
strike.
have to jump on that. But the thing is, what happens now is the government, I mean, they haven't really been privatised. What happens is somebody comes and says, oh, we've got the franchise, and the government gives them 12 billion quid.
Yeah.
And then they just run it any way they want.
Right.
So it's not really worked. But anyway, and the other thing that I was going to put on my manifesto, which we ran out of time about, was just like...
it was only 5 hours.
Eh?
It was only 5 hours.
Yeah, that's right. Just like Mussolini said, I will make the trains run on time.
Yes.
Part of my manifesto would have been, I will fill in all the potholes, because they're consistently wrecking cars in this country.
Right. There's a picture of the red arrows, by the way, wearing red.
Oh, well, that's just a training flight.
Okay.
Now then, so what was on the bees here? You know, in cartoons, you see somebody being chased by a swarm of bees. What's the first thing they do?
They jump in a lake, usually,
Of course they do. Jump in a river
When
or
was
a
that?
lake.
Was there not... do you remember one of the golf tournaments last year? I think it might have been down in the Far East, down in Southeast Asia, and there was a golfer...
I think there was.
...who jumped in a lake because there was
surrounded.
a bee... No, yeah, there was like a swarm of bees or wasps or something. He jumped in a lake as well.
Anyway, it says diving into a river, the sea or a pool or trying to hide in thick undergrowth will not protect you, OK?
Right.
If you run away, protect your face and eyes from stings with your arms and hands. Take shelter quickly in a car or building. As a general,
well, that's easy for them to say.
Yeah. As a general rule, stay away from honey bee colonies and swarms. If you encounter bees, stay calm.
Stay away from swarms?
Yeah, but I mean...
Are you serious?
Exactly.
Well, of course you're going to stay away from a swarm.
Yeah,
You're going to
but
go,
if
oh, look, there's a swarm of bees. I think I'll run towards
run into it. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. If you encounter bees, stay calm and retreat quietly until they're out of sight. Well, that's all very well saying that, except you think you're going to be stung a million times.
Yeah. Well, if they surround your head, you're not very likely to be calm, are you?
This is a piece of advice which I found a bit difficult to evaluate. If you get immersed with a swarm of bees, do not spray water at them and don't throw rocks at them. Well, I mean, what hope have you got of hitting a bee if you throw a rock at it?
I mean, the best thing I would imagine to disperse them would be some kind of smoke device, right? So if you carried around some kind of smoking...
funny enough, it says
firecracker or something.
It says here, do not spray water at them, don't throw rocks at them, and don't spray bees with repellent, pesticide or other aerosol chemicals. Yeah. It will only irritate them and madden them.
What about... You need like a flare or something like that, I think. If you held a flare, I'm sure that would get rid of it, wouldn't it? I mean, I'm fighting a losing battle, actually, with the old European Hornets down in Sussex. I'm going to tell you about that coming up in a little while. Okay. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. There will be a podcast coming out. We are the two Mikes. Of course, this is TalkSport. For extra time, I'm Mike Graham. He's Mike Parry. We are the two Mikes. Of course, Agony has sent a tweet saying, I was in a bee swarm once. It was pretty amazing. They were too buzzy to bother me. And then he says, Northern Ireland have a red shirt, by the way.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't... who's got a red shirt?
Northern Ireland.
What do you mean?
Northern Ireland wear red, he says.
Northern Ireland, the football team?
Yeah, I presume so.
No, they don't. They wear green.
Well, I think he says they've got a red shirt.
Well, that might be their away strip or something like that, but believe me, they wear green.
Well, why would I believe you? You said the Red Arrows didn't wear red.
No, I said what?
You said the Red Arrows didn't wear red.
They don't wear red. That's training flight.
There's about 5 pictures of the Red Arrows in
rubbish.
red.
Utter rubbish.
What about that one?
Let's have a look. That's a training flight. They're on the ground. They're not flying.
No, the ground crew wear blue. The Red Arrows wear red.
No, I'm sorry. I can't tell you. Listen, I want to talk to you about Dean Saunders, OK?
Yes, all right, then.
Now, Dean Saunders, of course, was an outstanding footballer.
For Aston Villa, amongst others.
Well, Liverpool as well. He played for Liverpool, so he had a good career.
He was a Welsh international as well, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, of course he was Welsh international.
I'm pretty sure I had to cover a punch-up that he got involved in over in...
Wouldn't surprise me.
Where the I think it was the Welsh training ground, over on... Somewhere near Saffron Walden or somewhere on that side of the M25, you know, on the sort of Essex side of the M25. There was a football hotel there that a lot of people used to go to, and there was an incident. In fact, it might have been Aston Villa.
Oh, it could have been Aston Villa, maybe.
Might have been an Aston Villa thing before the cup final, but there was some kind of punch-up in a disco or something.
But anyway, look, all I was going to say was, I couldn't believe the interview I saw with him today. He's been appointed Chesterfield manager, right?
Right.
Now,
That's not that surprising, is it?
The problem is, it is quite surprising, because he's got such a huge failure, a record of failure in football management. Why would anybody appoint him? So Chesterfield have taken him on.
Chesterfield have just lost in the playoffs, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly, that's right, yeah, and... And this is, I think it's his 4th job as manager.
Right.
So, of course, the interviewer said, well, Dean, it's, congratulations. He said, how do you feel about taking this job when the previous 3 clubs you've managed to take into relegation?
Huh.
And he said, what? And they said, well, you did, every
perfectly valid question.
A perfectly valid question. So,
who was this on Sky or something?
It was one of the sports channels I was watching this afternoon, and he said, "Well, that wasn't my fault. I was given the jobs late in the season, and those clubs were already down the bottom of the leagues."
Right. Well, Chesterfield finished 6th, so maybe he's in good order here.
Yeah. So he said, I tried my very best to keep those teams up, and I did my best, and everybody knows I did my best.
Well, what's
it wasn't
wrong
my
with
fault. Well, what I'm saying is, why would the Chesterfield chairman appoint Dean Saunders, whose record is like this? Here we go.
Have you got some information?
I've got his record here, yeah.
All right.
Began his managerial career in October.
October when?
Of what year? What year was this? What year? Well, it was on October. It was in October, right?
In October?
Yeah.
So Dean Saunders started his managerial career in October?
No, and October.
Oh, and October.
I'm just trying to give you the perspective of where he was in the football season, right?
Okay.
And October.
And October. Or did he finish it in May?
I think it was 98. Was it 98? 08. No, it was 08. It was 2008. 2008,
I mean,
right?
Considering that you're, sort of telling us how much of a failure this guy is, you haven't got his record in front of you.
Yeah, it was October 2008, definitely.
Right.
And he was appointed as manager of Wrexham, right?
Okay.
So he starts off well, wins 5 league games, got the best starting record of any new manager in the club's history.
He's done well then.
Yeah, but then fails to maintain that fine start. Right. Wrexham were left to settle for a 10th place.
Right.
Following
that's
season,
okay.
hang on.
All right for
following
Wrexham.
season saw no improvement.
Right.
Wrexham finished the campaign in 11th spot.
Well, that's fair enough then. Well, it's only relegation material,
Promotion dream ended after Luton Town defeated them 5-1 on aggregate in the semi-finals.
Well, so they reached the playoffs, did they?
Reached the playoffs, yeah.
Well, so you're telling me that he got every team relegated. So far, he's finished 10th, 11th and made the playoffs. How's that bad?
Right, this is what happens next, OK? He leaves the following season to take over at Doncaster Rovers.
Right.
That was September 2011.
So when he left Wrexham, they hadn't been relegated?
No, they hadn't been relegated.
Well, you said every team he's managed to be relegated.
Hang on, would you just listen?
You said every team he's managed to have been relegated.
Every team since the first one. That's what I was saying.
In an October?
In an October, yeah.
The hunt for an October.
It was 2008, I keep telling you. Now then, what happens then is Dean Saunders leaves the following season to take over at Doncaster Rovers in September 2011.
Right.
His attempts to keep Doncaster in the Championship ended on the 14th of April 2012. They were relegated following a 4-3 home defeat by Portsmouth at the Keepmoat Stadium.
Yeah. Ending their 4 years. Well, it doesn't say where they were in September 2011.
Well, anyway, so they're relegated to League One.
Yeah.
Saunders oversaw a promotion challenge, which put the club joint top of the division by early January, but unfortunately it petered out.
Right. But then they weren't relegated then?
No, Saunders left the club on 6th of January to join Championship side Wolverhampton Wanderers.
So they weren't relegated then?
Oh, look, I said his last 3 clubs, not the first 2. Right, it was a move which failed to work out as Wolves were relegated. There we go, relegated. This is Wolves.
Right.
To the 3rd tier since 84-85, OK?
Yeah.
That was confirmed on the final day of the season.
And he joined them in January, so you could say they were already in a bad place.
Well, he said, it wasn't...
I think we've got a clip from it if you want to hear it, actually.
Yes, OK, yeah.
Let's have a listen.
If I've taken over the team at the start of the season and I've bought a load of players and I lose and I hold my hands up and say, I've had 2 years, I've signed a load of bad players and we've lost. So I deserve the sack. And every time I've had a team on my own, I've left them both top of the league.
So what do you have to say about that then?
What?
When he's ever had a team on his own, he's left them both top of the league.
Hang on,
where did you get this rubbish about the relegation thing?
Hang on, I haven't got to the end of his record yet, right? So Wolves get relegated. Right. Saunders had his contract terminated 3 days after relegation.
OK.
So in December 2014, he's appointed interim manager of Crawley Town.
Yeah.
And what happens? Final day of the season, Crawley Town were relegated.
Right, but he didn't have them from the start of the season, though.
They were the 3rd team relegated under his management.
Right, but he's also had 2 other teams which were promoted and which were actually...
No, they weren't. They weren't promoted at all.
And they were top of the table.
They weren't promoted. They battled for promotion.
I don't know why he got it in for Dean Saunders.
Lost out towards the end. Well, the only thing is, if you'd heard the old interview, he says, well, it wasn't my fault. And
well, he's just said he holds his hands up if he got it wrong.
The boys, I tried my best. Well, I just think that he sounds to me like, one of the least successful managers in the history of football, And B,
I don't think that's right.
One of the biggest whingers, with the greatest respect to you, Dean. I'm sorry, but it did sound like you were whinging to me about,
No, it sounds to me like you've got it in for him for some reason.
No,
and you're making out that he's a terrible manager. And actually, he's not done any better or any worse than many other people.
No. I'm not being unkind. I don't focus on people and barrack them because of their failings in life. We all have failings in life. Well, you should know that more than anybody, with your track record of failed marriages, failed jobs. Failed ability to bring children up, so you know all about failure.
So now you've suddenly turned on me.
You know all about failure, but for poor old Dean Saunders, I have to say, it was not a good time for him.
Now, do you mind if I go back to a story I was going to tell you earlier about my constant battle, which is going to be taking place, I think, throughout the summer months against this invasion of the European hornet? Because you were talking about bees before, right? Do you remember last year when a hornet's nest was built in my shed?
Yeah.
And I had to get rid of it, right? Well, amazed as I was to find this out, last weekend, they were starting another one.
No.
Right? And I'd seen a couple of these things. They're massive, right? They're about an inch long.
Why have they suddenly come back to your place?
Well, they were there pretty much towards the end of the summer last year.
Right.
And we were concerned because we thought...
does the winter wipe them out?
Well, I don't know, you see. That's the problem. It was
Why
quite
don't you get a
winter.
flamethrower? I thought the flamethrower was the way to get rid of them.
Well, I can't put a flamethrower into the shed, can I? It'll burn the shed down.
No, it won't. If you adjust the flame properly so it just burns the hornet's nest...
Well... That's a kind of dangerous thing to do.
I don't think it's dangerous. I could do it for you.
Yeah. So what I want to do is I'm going to have to go into the shed like literally every week because as soon as I kill one of the nests, they start building another one.
It's terrible. Why on your land? Why around you?
Well, it's very. There's a lot of trees there. It's very rural. I mean, I just don't know. But I mean, there seems to be an influx, definitely, of these much larger insects, which are very, very scary.
Yes.
And
could be scary to your children. By the way.
Well, exactly. I took the de-icer to it when I found it in the and I sprayed de-icer on it, right?
Right.
And it made it all sort of wobbly. And
did that work?
It did, and one of them just crawled out, and because the de-icer had kind of poisoned it slightly, I fell on the ground, I stepped on it. But I mean,
I've now been squash a hornet.
I've now been away.
Ruined my shoe.
I've now been away, sort of, for a few days, and I'm worried that it's going to have got even bigger.
Yeah,
They've built another one.
Yeah,
because they're quite sort of clever at doing it.
Why don't you spray it with something like mastic or something like that that's just going to clog them up, you know what I mean?
Right, well, like sort of make it all sticky around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. The thing I'm thinking about is a sort of...
it's almost like fly paper, isn't it, what you're talking about?
Fly paper, yes, certainly, but paint would do it.
Yeah.
If you
paint will dry, though, won't it?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the paint should go into the nest, and that will debilitate them.
Well, no, I don't want to... No, but what I don't want to do is build another nest. I can destroy as many nests as you like, but they just keep building more.
So what is your plan?
Well, I don't have one at the moment.
Well, you better get hold of a hornet specialist and find out. No, they do. Don't be silly. They do have hornet specialists. They're called...
Is that in the Yellow Pages?
Yeah, it will be.
Hornet specialists.
No, they come under pesticide. No, what do they come under? The pest control.
Yeah, pest control.
Pest control. So it's not about you laughing and mocking.
No, but pest control is all very well. They'll come along and they'll get rid of the nest. What they won't do is make it possible for the nest not to be built again.
They're experts. If you come along and say, now look, fellas, that you've done part one of the job. That's getting rid of the nest.
Yeah.
Part two is to make sure another nest is not built. What do I need to do? That's all you got to say. Honestly, you can't think for yourself.
I found Honda hornet specialists.
Eh?
I found a Honda Hornet specialist.
Well, there you go.
That's a car.
Yeah, I know it is, yeah. Don't be silly. Now, listen, I want to tell you about my latest delicacy in the food thing.
Right.
Guess what I made today?
What did you make?
I made a pear flan.
You made a pear flan?
Yeah.
Why?
Brilliant. Well, I fancied a pear flan.
Why did you fancy... I mean, where would you fancy for a pear flan from?
I don't know. I like pears, and I hadn't had one for ages.
Were they tin pears?
Yes. Well, hang on. What's wrong with that? What do you expect me to do? Go and buy 8 pears and...
Why not? Well, fresh pears. Goodness me.
No.
Well, you go to the pear specialist.
No, but you'd have to. I don't know what your problem is. I do not know what your problem is. Do you know how many cans of tinned food there are in the world at the moment?
They're all in your house, aren't they?
1 billion. There's 1 billion. No, there's 1 billion tins of food in the world.
Well, 500 million.
So I'm not the only person who eats food out of a tin can. You're the odd guy. You're the odd person who finds something odd about...
I've never said I don't eat food out of a tin can. I just don't eat all my food out of a tin.
I got the flan. I bought the flan in a plastic case.
So you bought the case for the flan.
Yeah.
Right. You bought a tin of pears.
Yes.
Right. You put the pears in the flan.
Yes.
And that was your pear flan.
Well, what else would you call it, you fool? What's wrong with you? Why do you find this so amusing?
You should start a show on it. A cooking show. So you bought the case,
yes.
You open a tin, and that's your pear flan.
What's wrong with that?
Did you put anything else in it?
Yeah, I did.
What?
Clotted cream. Yeah, I put the clotted cream in first, and then the pears in the clotted cream.
Well, I'm sure
that's pretty good, isn't it?
Very tasty. Yeah, no, I
don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know what's wrong with you.
I admire your creative acts in the kitchen.
If you wanted beans on toast, where would you get your beans from?
From a can.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
So,
I don't eat beans on toast very often, though.
What I'm saying is there are some things you can only get in a can.
That's true, but pears are not one of them.
Well, listen, you know as well as I do, if you went into a supermarket and bought loose pears, they'd probably be hard.
They could be.
Exactly. So I'd spend, an hour cooking them to make them soft, OK? Yeah. Well, why bother when you can get a tin of pears, which are lovely and soft already?
Right, exactly.
So what are you laughing at then,
why
you fool?
Why bother cooking anything? You can just get it in a can and just pour it out and eat it.
I agree. Where do you get tomato soup from?
What?
Where do you get tomato soup from?
Make tomato soup.
No, you don't. You get it from a can.
Well, you can get lots of things from a can.
Exactly.
You know, you can get kippers from a can, but they're actually better if you get them from a fishmonger.
I like spaghetti bolognese out of the can.
What?
It's good.
From who?
Well,
who makes that?
I don't know. Princes or somebody, or Heinz, somebody like that. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it.
You might as well just eat dog food.
No,
that comes in a can as well.
No, there's nothing wrong
Pedigree chum.
Why do you think the tin can was invented?
I've no idea. Why was it invented?
It was invented to be able to ship food to soldiers in wartime.
Right. Well, we're not in wartime.
Battles,
you know,
right?
Times might be tough, but we're not in wartime.
And in fact, that was one reason why this is a bit of history for you. Why Napoleon's assault on Russia failed.
Right.
His army starved to death because the tin cans that they put the food in leaked. And all the food rotted.
I'm sorry.
What are you laughing for? Why are you always laughing?
There's some very funny tweets coming in.
Why?
This one from Woodenhead. He said, use a flamethrower to get rid of hornets. Why not use a hand grenade to get rid of a spider while you're at it?
I think some people take me too literally when I try to offer a solution to problems, the world's problems.
Oh, God. I'll have to go and have a tin of spaghetti bolognese sent in of you destroying a hornet's nest with a flamethrower.
Oh, there we go. Excellent.
Hasta la vista, punks.
Yeah. Well, you know, you've got to be got to be firm with these critters. They're nasty and vicious.
And Maxwell sent in some nice tins of spaghetti bolognese for you.
Well, there you go. And who makes those?
Well, they're from Tesco's. 25p. Everyday value. Can't go wrong. I actually made spaghetti bolognese last night. It's fantastic.
Oh, did you?
Do you know what the secret to spaghetti bolognese is?
No.
Two things, right?
Go on.
One is the rind of some Parmesan cheese, which just you put into the mix. And the second is...
you don't, grate it on afterwards?
No, you grate it on it afterwards, but you actually cut the rind, the bit you can't eat, which is the really hard, thick part, and it makes it into a nice kind of consistency.
Right.
And a bit of beef stock.
Yeah, I always put beef stock in.
Yeah.
I put chicken stock in as well sometimes.
Well, you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do.
I make a really, really good spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah.
Don't like too much tomato because I like to taste the meat. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Now then, this guy's called Memphis Depay.
Memphis Depay, yeah.
Strange name, but a nice name, very exotic name.
Yeah, he wants to be called Memphis, doesn't he? He said that in the past.
He'll get that record played after him, won't he? Help me information, get me Memphis, Tennessee.
Do you think the fans will be singing it on the,
of course they will.
The Old Trafford singing section?
Of course they will. Of course they will.
Memphis Depay, isn't it?
Memphis Depay.
Isn't it Depay, though?
Depay, whichever one you say. Now, what I was going to say...
American Depay.
Who sung that record, by the way? Memphis, Tennessee.
I don't know.
Help me... Oh, it's Chuck Berry.
Yeah, it could have been.
Chuck Berry, because I can hear his unique guitar sound.
Oh, I see there's a big piece in the papers with Private Jet Swagger. An entrance.
No, this is what I'm saying.
What, an entrance from United's £25 million new boy.
Yeah, he's coming on private jet.
Yeah.
Plain speaking, Memphis Depay tweeted this picture of his private jet as he flew to London for promotional work yesterday. This guy is 22, I think, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's got a private jet.
Right. Does he not play for PSV Eindhoven?
What is the world coming to?
What do you mean, what's the world coming to?
Well, I mean, if
you could afford to have a private jet, it would be the only way to travel. Have you ever been in a private jet?
Of course I have.
What do you mean, of course you have?
Well, why wouldn't I have been in a private jet?
Well, not very many people have been in a private jet.
Have you been in a private jet?
Yeah, I have, actually. Yeah.
Whose private jet was you?
I was in Hanson's private jet.
Oh, Hanson, yeah.
Hanson, the company.
Lord Hanson, yeah. I remember him. He came to visit us at the Daily Express
and I was once offered.
I had lunch with Sir Nicholas.
I was once offered the use of a private jet by a friend of mine in Scotland who had one.
Oh, yes?
So I'd rather not name him.
Yes, OK.
For obvious reasons.
Right. Now then, how to make an entrance on a private jet wearing shades and ripped jeans. The Touchman posed for photographs before flying to London for his first trip to England since Manchester United confirmed his £25 million transfer last week.
Yeah. Isn't he got to play one more game, I think, for his club in Holland?
I think he has, yeah.
And then he's got his medical to do and all that.
Hey, I tell you what, he was just round the corner. All eyes were on Depay as he took questions in London's Borough Market yesterday.
Oh, there you go.
To unveil...
Hey, I was near there yesterday. I didn't see him.
Right, to unveil Under Armour's new football boot.
Under Armour.
Under Armour, is it? Oh.
It's not Under Armour.
Well, I thought it was like Amour, love, but it's not. It's Armour, isn't it?
It's Under Armour.
Yeah, OK.
They're the sponsors of all sorts of football clubs like Tottenham.
Are they? Yeah. Right. Depay, who has Dream Chaser tattooed across his chest, really.
Dream Chaser?
Yeah.
All right.
Was more than comfortable being the centre of attention. He thrives on it like his hero Cristiano Ronaldo. Doesn't say how old he is. Oh, he's 21. Right, the substance to his assuredness too. At the age of 21, he's developed a reputation as one of the deadliest free-kick takers in Europe, revealing that he watches YouTube clips of ex-Manchester United star Ronaldo to perfect his technique.
Right.
Well,
it's always welcome. Another great footballer in the Premier League, has to be said. I'm looking forward to seeing him play.
15 caps for Holland. Yeah. Last summer became his country's youngest scorer at the World Cup finals. He leaves PSV Eindhoven as a champion, having helped them land the Dutch title. Scored 28 goals this season. That's all very impressive. I wonder why.
I didn't see him then at Borough Market yesterday. I was up at the Shard yesterday.
Well, it might have been a different time,
Did you not see my picture? I'm surprised you haven't remarked on it.
No.
I went up to the Shard. I'll show you the picture here. Look.
What, to the bar?
Yeah. I went and had a Bloody Mary up at the top of the Shard.
And who was that with?
It was a friend of mine.
I see. Yeah. Well, you seem to have an awful lot of time in bars these days. I'm getting a bit worried
not
about
really.
you.
Well, the summer
clearly
months...
been drinking when you came to work last night, haven't you?
The summer months... No, not at all. The summer months...
you had. You had.
The summer months... I drink in the afternoon and then I go back to sleep and then I come into work.
Oh, well, you must have an awful lot in the afternoon yesterday because you were still affected by the consequences of alcohol consumption.
Now,
without a shadow of a doubt.
Let me tell you how expensive it is up there because I'm not sure I can take you up there, to be honest.
Right.
We had 2... vodka and cranberry juices.
Yes.
2 Bloody Marys.
Right.
And 1 glass of red wine.
Right.
And what do you think that cost?
Right, hang on. 2 cranberry juices.
No, 2 vodka and cranberry juices.
2 vodka and cranberries, yeah. 2 what?
2 Bloody Marys.
2 Bloody Marys.
And 1 glass of red wine.
1 glass of red wine.
Not a particularly spectacular one.
I would say that would come to nearly £60.
72.50.
72.50.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
It's a nice view, though.
Well, of course it is, and it's an exclusive bar. But wow, that is ridiculous. Yeah,
absolute mad.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Right now, old Depay. Right, what's the deal here? He signed for United. What I was going to say was, I am surprised United managed to get him to sign for them. Now, I'm not belittling Manchester United. Well, they weren't even in the Champions League for sure when he signed for them, was he?
Well, no.
Were they?
It was pretty clear from the last 2 weeks that Manchester United were going to make the Champions League.
Well, probably, I agree. But what I'm saying is, if he's that good that he's got his own private jet at 21,
But are you sure it's his own private jet? Are you sure it's not just something he's using?
It would have been hired, obviously. Yeah. But what I'm saying is he has the facility to get a private jet to come here at 21 years of age.
Right.
He's a deadly free kick expert. He scored 28 goals in the Dutch league, which is incredibly good because they don't play as many games as we do in this country. And he's part of the Dutch international setup, then he's got to be excellent. And I suppose it was the LVG, Louis van Gaal, being the former Dutch manager, who persuaded him to come to Manchester United.
Absolutely right. Well, I'm looking forward to him being in the Premier League, as I say.
Yeah.
I'm all in favour of that.
By the way,
but who's he going to displace would be the next question, I suppose.
Well, I mean, that's a matter for LVG, Louis van Gaal. Now, you're right to point out that it's Under Armour, right?
Yeah.
Because guess what it says at the end of this piece we're reading out of the Daily Mail?
What does it say?
It says, big player, big ego, and then under the bottom it says, Under Armour athlete Memphis Depay unveils the new speed form, and then it goes on, it's
a sort of fairly half-sponsored sort of scenario.
What I'm saying is he's managed to make his arrival in this country coincide with the launch of a new boot from Under Armour, which he's promoting.
Yeah.
It's clever marketing, isn't it?
It is clever marketing.
And it's the way that the world goes these days.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting story that Jim has sent us in from the Telegraph. Yeah. Chicken tastes supreme after 50 years in a tin. This will be one right up your street. Oh. It was the height of post-war luxury, a hamper crammed with delicacies, topped by a whole roast chicken preserved in its own jelly and sealed in a tin. Oh. The year was 1956, and the hamper was bought by Les and Beryl Lely for guests at their wedding reception. By the end of the day, they'd polished off the sandwiches, the hams, the cheeses, and the luxury shortbread. However, they hadn't eaten the chicken, and so they left it in its packaging, and it remained untouched for 50 years. And apparently the couple decided to eat it on their golden wedding anniversary.
God, that's terrible. I couldn't possibly.
And she said it was absolutely fine.
Oh, forget that.
She said it was very tasty, and maybe a bit salty, but then I didn't follow the instructions absolutely to the letter.
I have never.
She said it was fine.
I've never actually eaten chicken out of a tin. That's one thing I wouldn't take out of a tin. Chicken, for goodness sake.
It'd have to be a big tin, I suppose, wouldn't it?
Well, I suppose it'd be sliced chicken or breasted chicken or something like that, wouldn't it? But no, I wouldn't. In fact, I don't like to ham out of a tin. You see these sort of.
What about spam?
No, not spam. No, I don't eat spam. No, you see these almost circular type tins of ham.
Yes.
Big ones.
Yeah, the ones with the big key.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, that kind of, I just can't eat that.
No, I wouldn't fancy those.
Because I think, oh, God, I'm not sure what's in that tin, and all that. So I wouldn't eat meat out of a can, really.
If I ever make corned beef hash, I sometimes use corned beef out of a tin like that.
Yeah, I don't mind that, because that, to me, is so well established, the old Frey Bentos with the key around the top of the strange-shaped tin. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
But ham, because it's got more... It's not as dry as corned beef. Corned beef's a dry meat, if you see what I mean. But ham's not. It's wet, and I don't like it sliding out of a tin.
No.
It doesn't do me any good.
No, I don't blame you.
Now then, what I was going to talk to you about was you live down in the country and all that kind of stuff, okay? Now, do you see a threat to the allotments down in your part of the world?
Well, funnily enough, there is a whole section of allotments at the top of my road.
Right.
And they're always very busy. There's lots of people there doing things, and, they seem to be
I'm thinking
very
of getting
well,
one,
very
seriously.
well used.
I think I've said this to you before. Yeah. Now, the problem is...
But you were saying it's quite difficult to find space for them now.
No, what I'm saying is that increasingly local authorities are now selling off allotment land to developers, because we're running short of land in this country, obviously. I mean, the amount of development going on is just amazing.
Well, we say that we're running short of land, but actually, are we really running short of land? Obviously, we've got the Greenbelt laws, which
we're running
can't
short of
build.
land in the right places. Here, I've got a statistic to tell you, which I came across a few weeks ago, and I was doing something else. How much of the British Isles is actually occupied by humans and urban development?
What, you mean in terms of a percentage?
The percentage of the total landmass.
I would say around about 45%.
It is 2.7%.
Is it really?
2.7%.
That's very small.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
It is astonishing.
It's absolutely astonishing. And I looked at it again, and I double-checked it, and then I got on the old computer, and 2.7%. Now, I've always said for years, right, this thing about, immigrants swell the numbers in this country, we're going to put them all and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, I mean, that's another argument, because they go to urban centres.
Well, they do. And the pressure that's then put on the things like schools and
well, exactly.
And all that.
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is something you've got to fundamentally
But that's
address.
what I'm saying. I mean, so your statistic proves what I was saying. That we're not running out of land.
No, you're not. But we're running out of land in the right places.
Yeah.
Now, if you remember, part of my election manifesto was to build new towns.
Are you going to start going on about this election manifesto all year now?
No. But what I'm saying is, when you get on a train in London, and like we're going to Newcastle soon, right? Because we've got a show in Newcastle, so we'll get on the East Coast line, we'll go to London. The minute you leave and I tell you what, when you go on the East Coast line, you pass the Emirates.
Yeah.
When you go on the West Coast line, you pass Wembley, right?
Yeah, right.
But you pass the Emirates, and then Greater London goes on for about another 5 minutes.
Into sort of Hertfordshire.
And then once you're in Hertfordshire, do you know, you don't see a town until you get to Newcastle, virtually. I mean, there's a few stops, obviously, at sort of Peterborough and York and Durham and all that kind of stuff.
But no massive conurbation.
No, what I'm saying is you can go half an hour on that train between stations and see only fields.
Well, if you think of parts of Scotland...
tracts of this country have never been developed.
I mean, when I lived in Wiltshire, right, and people would come and visit from America, they couldn't believe that you would drive through these incredible sort of, leafy lanes and beautiful fields, and then you would come to what would be essentially an incredibly tightly packed little high street, which would be the village.
Yeah, like Marlborough.
And but Marlborough are actually quite big. I'm talking about like small little villages with tiny kind of workmen's cottages that everybody lived in.
That's right.
With tiny gardens.
That's right.
And that would run for about, say, 200, 300 yards. And then suddenly more fields.
Yeah.
And they'd go, why can't you people build bigger houses and build, because we because in America, obviously, there isn't really any, I mean, of course, there's lots of rural space, but where people live, they've got massive plots for their houses and their land. Yeah. And they're not all squeezed together.
No, that's right, yeah. Well, but America's such a huge country, and you've got to remember, the Go West Young Man thing was all about going to California and just...
You've seen the time, by the way.
Don't worry about the time.
I have no idea how late it was.
You're obsessed, yeah, but people are more interested in listening to me than a time check, OK? And I was saying...
particularly late
the old expression, Go West Young Man, was all about going there and staking your territory. Yeah. And like Bonanza, one of those great old TV... Old Ben, what's his name? Who was the head of Bonanza.
We have to go.
Yeah, I know. But he staked a claim on 12 square miles.
Did he? Thank you very much indeed. We have looked into the light and we have checked the time. This is the 2 Mike.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
A terrific performance.
Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Shout about it.
Talk Sport.
By the way, I meant to tell you, somebody tweeted a picture to me earlier on yesterday of the Daily Express newsroom in 1991 with a picture of everybody standing. I don't know what the occasion was, but they'd found it somewhere. Yeah. And you're in it.
I should be right in the middle of it.
You are right in the middle of it.
Because I was the news editor.
Yeah, you are right in the middle of it.
And I tell you what that was. Do you know what it was? One of the night editors had been diagnosed with some terrible disease.
Really?
And he was in hospital going through all the chemo and all that kind of stuff, you know. And I think Nick came out, Sir Nicholas, our editor.
Yeah, he's in the picture as well.
Yeah, he said, come on, let's... And Gene Rook, I was standing next to between Gene Rook and Sir Nicholas Lloyd. And he came out and said, come on, we're going to take a picture and we're going to frame it and send it off to whoever it was who was having the terrible...
We don't have to name him, do we?
Well, I don't know who it was. I can't remember who it was. And I remember it very well. It was in the old building, which was
I'll show you the picture.
Such a slum.
I'll show you the picture.
It wasn't really habitable. Now then,
a couple of tweets to read to you though. By the way, here's one from shall we say Reg the Veg. He says you should get your pears from your local greengrocer, Mike. Not many independents left. He says he's on his way to the Birmingham wholesale market now.
Oh, okay, I certainly will, Reg.
And here's one from somebody who doesn't give a name. Two choices as far as the Hornets are concerned: spray with Builder's expanding foam from the bottom of the nest, or a tin of Arctic spray.
Yeah,
but
sounds
do it
good.
late at night when they're all in the hive and asleep. Both will kill the entire thing.
Is that right?
Well, that's not the problem, you see. The problem is actually stopping them from doing another one. I actually, there was only one in it.
Yeah, but I don't know how you're going to do that. You need an expert to tell you how to do that.
Yeah, well, no, I've already killed a
Do they only
before.
nest in one place, and that's inside your shed?
Yeah, basically.
Well, why don't you spray the rest of the shed with something that they find repulsive?
Well, I don't know what that is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You've got to take it from an expert. You've got to get an expert to you know, if it was carbolic soap or something, or I don't know, ammonia.
Well, but then they'll just build it somewhere else because you know these.
Yeah, but they might not build it on your land. They'll go somewhere else.
I don't know if they will. Well, Kenny says this. I thought we already had European hornets. Yes, we have. We had them last year. He says I'd read that this summer we may get the Asian hornet, which is larger and potentially very bad news if you get stung. See the results of their stings on the internet. It essentially eats away at flesh.
What?
Yeah, horrible.
Now, listen, just before we go on to talk about old Prince Charles, whose letters have been published, right?
Yeah.
Which the Guardian think is a huge...
about nothing.
I was about to say, the Guardian says a huge development, and presumably what the Guardian wanted when they undertook this 10-year campaign to have them published under the Freedom of Information Act was to expose Charles as a raving nutter loony.
Yeah, and also somebody who was seeking to get sort of, you know, things done for himself and his family.
Yeah, and try to be
behind everybody's back.
And try to be king-like and all that. Yeah. In fact, when you look at them, they are the absolute epitome of common sense,
they are.
Decency.
Well, the Mirror has used
a desire to
has used one of them
to improve people's lives.
Yeah.
Battling for soldiers to have proper equipment
so
in
they
wars.
Need better equipment, which is a great thing to argue for, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah.
And did you see, though, yesterday, because sometimes you do, I mean, they don't do themselves any favours, do they, Royals? He's got this new sort of aide, who's a rather feisty-looking woman.
Yes, that's right.
And apparently they were stopped in front of one of the buildings they were going in to meet Ant and Dec. And Michael Crick, that guy from Channel 4, was sort of shouting questions. And normally they have this protocol, don't they? Remember we used to go to America, and all the American reporters would all be standing there, and Charles would be walked in by whoever it was, and they'd be going, "Hey, Chuck! Chuck!" And they'd like try and get him to come and pose for a picture.
Exactly.
And it was like, you know, don't shout Chuck at him because he's not going to respond, right?
Exactly.
And Crick was doing something similar, was shouting at him.
He was.
And she apparently grabs his microphone, shoves it out of the way, shoves him out of the way.
Well, she
a bit of an incident.
No, what she did is she pulled the the furry cover off the microphone.
Cheryl Fernandez Versini, her name is.
No, she used to work for Cheryl Fernandez Versini.
Oh, is it?
Cheryl Cole.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Well, what's this woman's name?
You idiot.
Well, what's this woman's name?
Honest to God. Well, I don't know what her name is, but I know.
Don't you know what her name is?
Because I know she was the PR for Cheryl Fernandez Fasasi, or whatever her name is, Cheryl Cole, right? And she was also, I think she was also PR to somebody like Robbie Williams or something like that.
Was she?
She's been a very high-profile PR, and she's joined up with Charles's mob.
Oh, okay.
Now, just before we talk about Charles, right?
Oh, here we go. Christina Kyriakou.
There you go. Yeah, see? Told
That's
you.
her name.
Now then, I talked about my Pear flan,
yes,
which was very successful, by the way.
Did you eat it all? Why didn't you bring some of it in?
No, I didn't eat it all. It's a whole flan.
Well, why didn't you bring some in? We could have eaten it.
No, I ate half it.
You know, normally here when we have cake, we bring it in and everybody shares it.
I don't go around sharing food with people. I think that's a revolting habit.
Why?
I'm not going to, go into some control room and crumbs falling all over the place.
I brought you some banana bread once.
People with
some of that?
Filthy ink-stained hands handling food and all that. I'm not having it.
So you're not willing to share it?
No, I'm certainly not. No.
It'd probably be really soggy by now anyway, unless you drained. Did you drain the pears?
Of course I drained the pears, you fool. And I put the clotted cream in to soak up any moisture left. And what I've done is I ate half of it, which was absolutely great, while I was watching some back episodes of Coronation Street for tonight's Porkyvision, which is coming up very soon.
Right. And are you going to mention any BAFTA award-winning shows?
No, because the shows that should have won the BAFTAs didn't.
Right.
Peaky Blinders didn't win anything.
Okay.
So I think the BAFTA awards are rubbish.
Right.
And what I did is I wrapped the other half
Jon Snow won an award.
I know he did, yeah. It was pathetic, isn't it? You know, we've got nobody better broadcasters than him to win awards. That's what I
got
said
it in
to
for him,
myself.
haven't you?
Now, what I was going to say was, yes, I wrapped the other half of the Pear flan in cling film paper and put it in the fridge.
Yeah.
So that'll be,
It'll be really soggy.
It won't be.
It will be totally
no, it won't
soggy.
Be.
Listen,
won't be.
I'm an expert in flans. I used to make hundreds of flans every weekend when I worked at that bakery in Hampstead.
Yeah. Well, I'm. Don't worry, I've got it sorted.
And if you put tinned fruit in them, they don't last more than a day.
Now, listen, I want to tell you about the dangers of fruit, talking about pears, OK?
Dangers of fruit?
Right, snacking on fruit between meals, which is what the health, gurus tell us we should do, and all that, apple a day, take your 5 a day and all that. Right, snacking on fruit between meals is fast emerging as one of the biggest sources of tooth problems in this country and should be avoided at all costs.
Why?
Dentists say.
It's bad for your teeth.
Yeah, many health conscious people are also unwittingly exposing their teeth to near continual erosion with foods and drink that contain more acid than Coca-Cola, right? Juice and smoothie diets pose a particular risk, right?
Why?
Do you have these smoothies?
No, I don't eat them.
No, exactly. Britain has the worst rate of tooth erosion in Western Europe. According to a recent study, 54% of young adults show signs of heavy wear.
You know what's one of the worst things that you can ever see in a primary school, for example, which I've seen in a couple of primary schools. Right. I've had the misfortune of kids with missing teeth.
Yes,
because they drink so much Ribena, or they drink... because the parents, to be fair to the parents, they thought things like Ribena and juice drinks were probably better for them than giving them Coke or some kind of fizzy drink, but actually they're just as bad.
Yeah, but does it matter if kids' teeth fall out when they're 7 or 8? Because they're only milk teeth, aren't they?
Well, yeah, of course it matters.
But you get what age do you get a new set of teeth?
Well, it depends. Normally you wait until one of them falls out and then the next one grows in.
Oh, I see.
But it goes on anywhere between.
I don't see the problem with children's teeth rotting because
because if
the
teeth rot,
they're going to drop out anyway.
Well, no, because if the teeth rot, that means they've got some kind of gum disease, which means that might prevent the new teeth coming in.
Yeah, but when we were kids and we used to pull our teeth out, so you get sixpence for it if you put it under your pillow.
I never pulled my teeth out.
Yeah,
you pulled your own teeth out?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
What, for money?
Yeah.
You are unbelievable.
No, when they used to get loose, you thought, it's going to come out eventually anyway.
The tooth fairy?
Yeah, exactly.
I bet you pulled other people's teeth out and put them under your own pillow.
No, I didn't. That was silly.
I bet that's the sort of thing you would have done.
Don't be ridiculous. But I told you about those, do-it-yourself dentist packs that I was talking to you about the other night.
I'll tell you something else that will shock you, right?
Yes.
I know some people who... Do you know how much they give their kids for a tooth, for the tooth fairy?
No, how much?
£5.
£5? That's brilliant. I love that. That is great.
What's great about it?
I tell you what, if my mum and dad had given me £5 for a tooth, I'd have pulled all my teeth out in one night. I would. That'd be brilliant. Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
I know, you would have done.
What a way to make money.
Yeah, I know, but you wouldn't have been able to speak.
Well,
and you wouldn't have had much of a broadcast career.
Yeah, but once you lose your milk teeth, as you quite rightly say, you get a new set of teeth. So I can't see the problem with kids losing their teeth. I really can't.
I don't see that.
I don't know why people panic about it.
Yeah. Anyway, look at the light for a moment because it's time for Porkyvision.
What's coming up next?
Porkyvision on Talk Sport.
Excellent.
That music can only mean one thing, Mr. Parry. It's time for this week's edition of Porkyvision.
Right.
Just on the subject of TV, I'll read you this quick tweet from Roy, because it's on the subject of Bonanza, which kind of figures. And he says, Mr. Parry's wrong about the Ponderosa Ranch. It was 600,000 plus acres, about 933,000 square miles, a bit bigger than 12 miles.
Yeah, well, he started off with 12 and expanded it, you see.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
Yes,
all right, cool.
That's right, yeah.
Very good.
And in the end, it took a day to ride from one end of the Ponderosa to the other.
Yeah.
And in fact, in the end, South Fork in Dallas was almost as big as that as well.
Yeah.
Massive.
That was huge, yeah.
Yeah, it was huge because it had cattle herds on it of thousands of cattle, which had to roam. You know, you just can't keep cattle in a field.
No,
right? You've got to be able to move them and all that kind of stuff. Now then, just on TV.
Yeah. What have you been watching this week?
Well, I saw the second episode of Inspector George Gently. It was utter rubbish.
Was it?
Oh, complete
rubbish.
Hang on,
you were raving on about it last week.
No, it's gone completely rubbishy. Right
in the second episode?
Yeah, it's complete rubbish. I anticipated from the start exactly what was going to happen. And it's become like a social services documentary.
Oh, right, okay.
So what happens is they go up to this old factory, right, which is all closed down. In the northeast, you know, where everybody was persecuted by them rotten politicians from down south, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Whitehall.
Is this like the time of the Jarrow March or something?
Jarrow March, nobody done nothing for us up here.
Don't forget we're going to Newcastle, so don't really start upsetting anybody.
The people are great. The people are great. Don't worry about that. This is the George Gently series. Right. No, the Newcastle people don't moan. They're great people, and they get on with life. But anyway, what happens is...
You've already upset the people in Sunderland.
No, I haven't upset anybody.
Yeah.
What happens is George Gently stumbles across this scandal, but they show flashback pictures of little girls running around inside the factory where their dad was the cleaner and all this snow-type stuff, you know what I mean?
Snow-type stuff?
Yeah, so what do you think it was?
I don't know, was it washing powder?
No, think about it. It's a scandal about, you know, people getting cancer and all this kind of stuff in the area.
Oh, asbestos?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
But they didn't tell you right till the end, it was asbestos, you know. We all knew it was. Yeah, thank you, yeah.
Well, I didn't.
Yeah, well, and it got even worse when they showed a flashback of two little girls, one of whom died of cancer, rubbing asbestos in each other's faces and all this kind of stuff, you know. But then they introduced...
That sounds hideous.
Yeah, but then they introduced, like...
But what's this got to do with the police, anyway?
Well, again, then they introduced an international sort of Swiss businesswoman and a couple of guys from America who were the
evil capitalists.
The multinational owners of this company, you know what I mean?
Right.
Who
i.e. the bad guys.
The bad guys who tried to cover it all up and all that kind of stuff, you know. Right. And Inspector George Gently, you know, fearsome in his ability to crash through the wall of silence and all this.
The working man's superhero.
But it was also predictable. Yeah. And honestly, you know, I'm not arguing about the basis of the plot. I mean, you know, and people got cancer from asbestos. It was a terrible scandal in this country. It's still going on.
Yeah, right.
But what I'm saying is...
But it wasn't uncovered by a policeman, was it?
No, it was also predictable. Yeah. It was also terribly predictable.
Okay.
I thought, factory closed down, people dying of cancer. Oh, don't tell me they're going to find asbestos, you know?
Right. Yeah. So presumably each episode is self-contained, is it? So, I mean,
yes,
the next one might be better. I mean, you might want to put people off altogether.
It is self-contained, but it has links to the last one. Right. So, old Bacchus, who is the sergeant...
Oh, yeah, I've heard you talking about him before.
Who is rogering the wife of another senior officer.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I mean?
Is he still doing that then?
Well, no, but now he's been told to stop it.
Right.
He's been told to stop it, but then she turns up. She turns up on some, you know, like remote beach.
Oh, yeah.
You know, definitely for a bit more sex with old Bacchus, you know. And how about this for a line, you know? You know, when they finished having sex and they're rolling around in the old...
freezing cold beach in
the
northeast.
That's right, yeah. And they're
sound very appetizing.
And they're rolling around in the sand dunes, you know.
It's not exactly from here to eternity, is it?
Exactly. It's not exactly... what was the name of that? Burt Lancaster rolling around in the surf. No,
Deborah
Carr. It's not. And by the way, there's a fantastic view of a petrochemical plant just behind them. You know? Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, they might get poisoned in a future episode then.
Yeah, but what was really racy about it was, you know, she said, oh, you know, I didn't expect that when I come to see you today. And he said, yes, you did. You had your silk knickers on. So it was very romantic, you know, and all this kind of stuff, you know. But anyway, So I've got a bit of a downer on Inspector George Gently. Not because there's anything wrong with that. I love the northeast of England, as you know, and I'm going to retire there. Yeah. But they made this so predictable, and it was so shabby, you know, and everything went to pat. Oh, look, walking down the street, and they say, oh, there's a little boy in a wheelchair. Oh, he must have asbestos poisoning. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's all a bit daft.
Yeah, anyway, look, that wasn't as bad, actually, as another one, which it was so... This programme is so bad, it's called The Home Fires Are Burning, right? It is so bad.
Is that about firemen?
No, it's not. No, it's about the outbreak of the Second World War.
Because I was thinking London's burning, I suppose.
No, that's right. No. It's the outbreak of the Second World War.
Yeah.
And
Keep the Home Fires Burning was a song, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah. And all the young men disappearing off to war, and then all the rest of the community is left with coping with all the tensions and things. But it was so bad.
Is there any Rogering in it?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of going on, you know, sort of surreptitiously, you know, and that kind of stuff. I think the vicar's involved in some of it.
Really?
So, yeah, somehow. I don't know why. But it was so bad.
He's not that dodgy vicar from that ITV show down in Dorset.
No, nor is he the vicar in Coronation Street, you know, who is going around having a quite open relationship with a barman in Coronation Street, which, you know, I suppose in modern day life we don't get surprised by anything these days.
No.
But what I'm saying is
I saw a load of nuns on the tube today.
A load of nuns?
Trying to get on the tube. They didn't know how to use the ticket machine.
How odd.
Yeah.
What about the Pope meeting Fidel Castro?
Did he?
No, did he? Yeah, I think it was Fidel Castro, wasn't it?
Well, it's not, it's Raul Castro, isn't it?
Well, I thought Fiddle was in bed ill.
Yeah, I think he is.
He is in bed ill, isn't he?
Kind of effectively running it, isn't he?
It must have been Raúl Castro. He apparently went to Rome, got blessed by the Pope, and invited the Pope back and said, I'm going to get Catholic now. Fidel Castro, by the way, a report came out last week exposing him.
Some people think he's already dead, don't they?
Yes, some people think he's dead. Or he might be pumped full of that stuff that keeps people alive. You know, what's it called?
Lead ham.
No. The stuff that they preserve bodies in.
Formaldehyde.
Formaldehyde, that's right.
Well, he won't be alive if he's got that stuff.
Well, maybe he's half alive and half dead. But the point of the story is a report came out last week from the CIA saying that Fidel Castro amassed a fortune of $6 billion.
Well, would that come as any surprise to you?
That he had palaces all over Cuba, private planes, concubines of women, only ate the finest food imported from the United States, And yet, on the surface of it, he's told everybody you've got to be a peasant.
Yeah, right.
It's the only way to live. But anyway, getting back to the home fires are burning.
Yeah.
I'd love to tell you what the plot was, but it was so boring I've completely forgotten because I was intoxicated when I was watching. I fell asleep.
Right.
So I only saw about the first 3 minutes.
Very good then.
No, I saw about the first 3 minutes.
Anybody famous in it?
No, realised it was trash. Yeah. And I think I woke up as the final things were coming up. You know what I mean?
As the old credits.
Utter rubbish. Rubbish.
What else have you been looking at?
On the buses. Right. Now, On the Buses is great.
Have they started remaking it or just the old one?
That's the old one.
Oh, OK.
But it reminds me again of a better Britain.
Yeah.
A Britain where buses were green.
Yeah.
Where your...
buses are still green in some places.
Well, OK, where your average bus driver...
In fact, Sussex buses are green.
OK, where your average bus driver was a genial chap who, used to stop at the right bus stops and all that kind of stuff. Each bus had a bus conductor, and the conductor would take care of his passengers.
Those days are gone.
And all that kind of stuff, all gone at all. But also the fantastic relationship between the bus drivers and the clippies.
Oh, yeah.
The female, what they're called? Female conductors. Female conductors.
Or conductrixes.
Exactly. But also... it reminds you these days, it reminds you how lucky we are, Mike, because in the days after the Second World War, because this is set in sort of the early 60s, right? If you were a single bloke and you weren't married, you lived at home with your mum.
Yeah.
You just did.
Or you went to digs if you had a job somewhere away from home.
Well, that's true. You did. You stayed in a room somewhere in the top of a house that somebody else owned or something like that.
Like B&B or something.
Salesman. Well, not even a B&B. It would be digs, as you quite say. People took in lodges. It was called digs. But what I liked about this one is Stan Butler, played by...
Reg Varney.
Reg Varney, that's the... By the way,
I hate you, Butler.
Reg... No, that's the inspector.
Yeah, I know. But he used to say, I hate you, Butler, didn't he?
Butler. I hate you, Butler. Yeah.
When you watch these shows now, do you not think, actually, there's a lot that they could have done better?
No, I think it's great.
Oh, yeah?
No, you see, what I was going to say is the great battle here was for Stan to smuggle a female clippy into his house late at night.
Right.
Because his mother banned him from bringing any women back to the house.
Oh, OK.
And, it gives you a great insight into the way people must have had to live their lives in those days.
Yeah, well, it doesn't seem like a good way to live, does it?
Well, whether it was a good way or not, it's what you had to cope with.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm saying is, I just about reached an age where I earned an income to be able to buy my own place as soon as I wanted to.
After you pulled all your teeth out.
No, I didn't pull any teeth out. It would be ridiculous. And what I'm saying is, it gave you a fantastic insight into what life must have been like in those days. Creeping up the stairs with what Stan did is, so his mum wouldn't think there were two sets of footsteps on the stairs. Yeah. He gave his girlfriend a piggyback up the stairs,
okay.
So there's only one set of footsteps like this, you see, going up the stairs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when they got into the room, of course. Right. Every little noise, and it's very difficult, isn't it, to have sex in your bedroom, next to your mum's bedroom, without making too much noise.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, I'm just telling you what On the Buses is all about. Yeah. And I think it's a great historical document into how life was in those days and how lucky we are these days.
Okay.
So I commend On the Buses to anybody.
And when can you see that, though? What channel is it on? Gold or something?
I don't know. Something in the afternoons. I just switch it on when I've watched...
when you've had enough
Sky
of
Sports News for about 2 hours or something, and I've listened to about 2 hours of Talk Sport. I feel like a bit of brevity.
Light relief.
Yeah, light relief, that's right, yeah. And but I commend that. So I wouldn't bother watching Inspector George Gently. That was trash. And Home Fires are Burning. I don't know what it's about, because, as I say, I fell asleep when I was drunk watching it, because, it was no good.
That's a bit of an admission of guilt, isn't it?
Well, no, I told you, I've got to be honest about it, Anyway, that's the TV review.
First time for everything. That's Porkyvision for this this week. There'll be some more of it next week, of course. And coming up tomorrow, it's Porky Quiz Night, and the quiz is on the Rolling Stones.
It is, yeah.
I'm an expert. This is Talk Sport site too, which is the2mics.co.uk.
It is.
If you haven't been there yet, because on there, what you can find is all the places we're going to go play live shows.
Yes.
So far, Portsmouth, London, Manchester, Newcastle, and there'll be more added, of course. And there's loads of other stuff on there. You can take Porky quizzes on there as well, in fact, if you wish.
You can. Yeah, we might go back to Birmingham. We're negotiating that at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
But it'll be a bigger theatre.
Will it? Yeah.
For up to 1,000 people.
Blimey.
So we're thinking about organising that
now,
for the autumn.
Here's a story I want to ask you about, because you will have read, if you've never actually written a CV in your life, because you might have felt that you never needed to.
It's true, I haven't.
I have, actually, because there's been jobs that I've had to give CVs in for. Reluctantly, I'd have to say.
When you, one time, didn't you tell me at one time you were thinking of becoming a university lecturer in the media studies?
Well, not necessarily as a full-time job.
I find that laughable.
Why?
What, that you could actually instruct people about things?
Yeah, of course.
What, with your track record?
What do you mean, my track record? I was a very successful journalist.
Morals of an alley cat, which we won't go into, because you know all about that.
Yeah, well, you've already repeated those a million times.
Your drink problem.
I don't have a drink problem.
Oh, I think you do.
No,
I think people would say you do have a drink problem. Your inability to accord to the basic decent rules of society.
What, like such as?
Well, you know, we won't go into it. But
isn't that covered by the morals of an alley cat?
No.
Or is this in addition to that?
It's in addition to that, beyond that. And then, you know...
What's any of this got to do with journalism?
Hang on, personal life discipline of those that you're teaching.
Right. What do you mean?
Well, 80 cigarettes a day, that's what I mean.
I don't smoke 80 cigarettes a day.
Oh, how many is it now?
Well, I don't know, about 20 or 30. It depends on the day. It depends on the day.
Honestly, I don't know.
I mean, considering you've just admitted, being too drunk to watch television in the middle of the afternoon.
No, I didn't say that.
I don't think you should really be teaching me about any morality.
No, this programme was on one evening, wasn't it, over the weekend?
Well, you told me you were watching TV in the afternoon.
That was on the buses.
No, right. Okay.
No, I mean,
it seems to me...
I just had dinner, by the way, and I just had a couple of glasses of wine, and I just went somnolient.
Some Pear flan.
The Pear flan,
and some tinned spaghetti. No, the point about being a because they come to us a lot, actually, Fleet Street people. They wouldn't come to you because of your track record of annoying so many people.
No, I've succeeded in every discipline.
In your wake.
In every discipline.
What, you've been on TV as well, have you?
Yes.
When?
I started my own TV station.
Yeah.
It was successful.
How did that go?
It went very well, and I passed it on to other people. Well, other people are looking after it now. I want to move back into radio.
Right, okay.
Because actually, I will admit...
Did you get the figures up to double figures?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Did you get the viewing figures up to double figures?
Do you mean in terms of millions?
No, in terms of like 10.
I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay.
You know, you've never tried ventures like that because you don't have...
I used to go on TV quite a lot in America.
You don't have the courage or the nous or the intelligence to do it.
I don't think Jon Snow's quaking in his boots any time.
Well, I wouldn't work for Channel 4 News anyway.
No, of course you wouldn't.
I've never met a programme more loaded.
I'd love to see Channel 4 News presented by you.
In fact, at one time you said to me Channel 4 News was the only news programme you were watching.
That's true.
Why is that?
Because I quite like Channel 4 News.
Suddenly became a sort of left-wing
That's nothing to do with that. I quite like
the
mix of news that they do. I find the BBC News a little bit tame. I quite often watch Sky News during the day, so when there's a proper news programme on, I don't like ITV News. I don't think it's good enough.
I'm not sure about
I like Channel 4. Anyway, the reason I thought I could spend some time being a part-time lecturer... is because, you know, it would help the young generation of journalists coming up to learn something about how it was that we used to do our business, and I could give them a few tips about any number of things, about, you know, how to interview famous people, how to, get to be in front of famous people, and all of that. I think it'd be quite valuable for them.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
And I was about to say that having reached the heights of newspaper journalism, of radio journalism, TV journalism... my all-round ability there.
Right.
If you and I went...
all-round ability. It's a shame you can't work the internet.
If you and I went...
New media is not really one, is it?
If you and I went, right, and we submitted our individual CVs, as you're talking about CVs, I think you'll find that you'd be behind the queue after me, mate.
Do you think so?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Well, the difference between you and I, though, would be that the references that I would provide would be far more superior to any of the references you could provide, because you wouldn't be able to provide any references, because everybody that you've left behind, you've burned and trashed.
Nope.
So nobody would actually stand up for you.
Don't be ridiculous.
Who would you use as a reference if you were applying for a job? Anybody that you hadn't trashed.
OK, I'll tell you who I would use.
Who would you use?
I would use... Yeah, this will get you.
Look how happy you look.
The new Media and Culture Secretary, Mr. John Whittingdale.
John Whittingdale?
Who happens to be a great friend of mine.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, so he would personally vouch
about that?
So he would
Stick that in your pipe and smoke
When was the last time you saw Mr. Whittingdale? Was that when you were called before the phone hacking committee?
No, I wasn't called before the phone hacking committee, but... you know, I can't reveal, actually, because he's now a senior government minister, so I don't want to say too much.
Right, OK. So you're going to be having regular briefings with this guy, are you? Will you be giving him your tuppence halfpenny worth on what you think of the BBC?
I think you'll find Mr. Whittendale's only a phone call away.
Is he? Well, everybody's only a phone call away if they've got a phone.
No. It's who answers the phone, you see what I mean?
Well, exactly. No, the reason we're talking about CVs...
See, that quite shocked you, didn't it?
No, not at all.
You didn't know that I was pals with Mr. Whittendale.
First of all, I don't believe you,
Media and Culture Secretary.
Well, first of all, I don't believe you are.
Oh, really?
And why don't you call him up and we'll have lunch together?
Well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to waste his time. He's got an important job to do. What's the important job he's got to do?
I don't know.
He's going to regulate the BBC.
Well, he's going to regulate the BBC. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You're going to be whispering in his ear and trying to, bury parts of the BBC.
Well, what I could say to Mr. Whittendale is that the advantages of commercial broadcasting and a commercial radio station like TalkSport contribute a lot more to the oiling the wheels of life in this country, I think, than the rather authoritarian BBC.
Yes,
because you've got no choice with the BBC. You have to pay it, or you don't. By the way, I read today somewhere that the offence of not having a licence anymore for the BBC will no longer render you automatically to a large fine.
No, and they've also decriminalised it, so the chances of going to jail
anymore
are very, very slim. They haven't got enough room in the jails to lock everybody up.
That's right.
They all stop paying it. Anyway, that's another story. The reason that we were talking about CVs actually was because there's a piece in the paper today which basically says if you're an attractive woman, what you should never do is attach a photograph of yourself when you apply for a job with a CV.
Yes.
Because quite often people will be put off by the fact that you're quite attractive, and particularly if it's a woman who's sifting through the candidates for said job, that basically it might act against you.
Yeah. Do you know what?
Well, it seems mad.
I've read this report, right, and you've actually put an interpretation on it, which is not in the report, but you're absolutely right. The jealousy factor and the envy factor between women in the workplace is enormous. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. You think men are competitive in the workplace.
But men are competitive as well, but for different ways, I suppose.
And you're absolutely right. If an attractive woman sends it in, she hopes that a male boss will open that and think, wow, what a looker. I've got to at least get her in for an interview, you know what I mean? See what she looks like. Because that's the male instincts. That's what men do.
Even in this day and age, you think men think like that? I'm not sure they do. I mean, they might think like that before they actually answer they can't suddenly just interview good-looking women, can they?
Of course men feel like that. It's no good pretending they don't.
No, but I'm saying they may feel like that, but can they act like that is what I'm saying.
Well, they shouldn't admit that they feel like that.
That's what I mean.
Men do feel like that. I had... I had a boss once at the Express. The news editor was a guy called John Jinks, right?
Yeah. I thought you were going to give his name out.
No, I'll give his name out because he's such an old doddery character now. He probably wouldn't even recognise himself, to be honest. But
is he still alive then?
Well, he lives in one of these pensioners, journalist pensioners' homes down in Dorking or something.
He hasn't drunk himself to death yet, then.
Well, he's trying. Believe me, on a daily basis, But he always used to say to me, we used to have what you'd call front hall nutters, didn't we? Used to come in all the time, great stories and that kind of stuff.
A guy came in with a shotgun once to the new building.
Very nice, yeah.
In a plastic bag.
Somebody would always be sent down to see these people.
Right.
But John would always ask the commissioner downstairs what the person... And if it was a woman and she was attractive, John would go down himself to help this woman.
Of course.
He'd then end up in the pub next door, the Popinjay, for about 2.5 hours, and all that kind of stuff, because that's what he used to do.
In the hopes that he was getting some kind of story.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It was very funny, actually, once. He got conned by... He was on his way back in from lunch, and there was a quote front hall nutter, and the commissioner said, oh, John, this chap wants to speak to somebody new. He said he's got a great story. Anyway, whatever this guy told John, who was then intoxicated, because everybody used to get completely bladdered at lunchtime in Fleet Street, and it was about 3:30, John said, oh, this sounds brilliant, you better come upstairs with me. So he brings him up, and next thing we know, this guy's sitting next to John on the news desk, you know what I mean? And everybody's thinking, I wonder what that is. Yeah. And then the word goes around, oh, this guy's got some fantastic story about, one of the royals has committed some great sin or something like that,
Right.
So John then goes off, to try and find a reporter to do this great story. And the guy actually steals John's wallet from the inside of his jacket, which is on the back of John's chair.
Right.
No, honestly, it was hilarious.
Right.
So John comes back and he sits down, but I'm telling you, he's very intoxicated. It's 3:30.
Right.
Everybody got drunk at lunchtime in Fleet Street in those days. And somebody else who'd seen the guy nick the wallet came over and said, John, he said, no, I'm busy. No, I've got to talk to you. No. And he whispered in his ear, he said, that man's stolen your wallet. He said, what? Anyway, so he looked at it. Anyway, they called security, such as it was in those days.
And was he still in the building, this guy?
This guy was still sitting there.
Oh, he was still sitting there?
Yeah. So they called security surreptitiously, you see what I mean? You call security. They then locked this bloke in John's office. Yeah. But this man then goes mad and smashes the office up, hurls a typewriter, because had typewriters in those days, through the window into the hallway to try and get out, smashes all the furniture up. It was an absolute debacle. So it just mayhem. Just proves
in those days, quite often, some of the reporters would be throwing typewriters at each other after a lengthy spell in the pub, wouldn't they?
Well, it would, yeah.
Rolling about all over the floor.
The worst problem with typewriters in those days was the amount of people who vomited over them after coming back from the pub at lunchtime, and they had to be sent away to be repaired.
Do you remember that story of the two guys, one of whom certainly now is no longer with us, who were asked to go and cover some speech by the chairman, and they were sent down to the front of the hall. Yeah. But they'd unfortunately been in the pub already.
Oh, I know one of them was Michael O'Flaherty.
Michael O'Flaherty, yeah.
That's right,
I wasn't going to name him.
No, yeah.
But they ended up rolling. Yeah, he's dead. They ended up rolling around in front of the chairman and all these investors.
That's right. Yeah, they did.
Just punching the hell out of each other.
I think they were throwing bread rolls at each other.
Well, they started that way. Yeah.
Yeah, they had the ceremony happened, and they had sat down for lunch, and then they all got completely intoxicated. Yeah. Started throwing bread rolls at each other, then started punching each other, and this was all in front of the chairman. You quite rightly say. But old Michael O'Flaherty, who was
he ended up living in Africa, didn't he?
He's a huge romantic man. Yeah. He was married 3 times during the course I knew him. Yeah. Right, very charming Irishman, all that. And then,
so why a guy who is a charming Irishman who appears to drink quite a lot is a charming Irishman to you, whereas because I've only been married once, I've got the morals of an alley cat. How does that work?
Well, because Michael, what he used to do is when he fancied another woman, he divorced the wife he had and then married the next one.
Really?
You see what I mean? He was quite gentlemanly about it. Yeah,
really.
But what happened was when he became of an age where nobody wanted him to work for them anymore, and he was bankrupt. You know, Mike was always bankrupt because he used to spend like millions of pounds on women and all that kind of stuff. He then decided to go on voluntary service overseas. Yeah. And, he had quite a good heart.
He went to West Africa, I think.
He went to somewhere in Africa, and he was going to help teach children. Yeah. And what happened was he met their teacher. She was 50 years younger than him, and he married her.
Yeah, and he lived there, didn't he?
He lived there. He ended up living like he was like a tribal chief and a king of this tribe, and lived in literally a mud hut with his new bride. But unfortunately, a year later, he died. Yeah. And that was it.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't got much time. I was just going to quickly mention something on the back page of the Independent.
No, what you were saying about these CVs. Yeah, well, in a minute.
Well, we're going to run out of time.
A woman opens it, and all of a sudden, blimey, you've got no job, so don't send in a picture with the CV. Yeah, go on, tell me.
Well, it wouldn't be a problem for us, obviously, given the situation with our pictures. Roman Abramovich, I want to ask you this question. I asked it earlier on the show. Over £1 billion in 12 years, right, he has loaned to Chelsea.
That is amazing.
Okay? Yeah. Now, according to this piece in the Independent, there are no immediate plans for the loan to be repaid.
Right.
Now, it may well be that it's over a different timescale, but how is that different from Tony Fernandes loaning QPR a load of money and then saying, by the way, don't bother, you don't have to pay it back, we've cancelled the loans?
I don't know the answer to that. All I know is that the Tony Fernandes situation, I don't know if this makes any difference, is a dispute with the Football League, not the Premier League. So whether the rules are different or not for the Football League to the Premier League, I don't know. Right. And the other issue is that although he's lent that £1 billion over 12 years, which works out 80 million a year. Yeah. If you can justify that £80 million as being part of the turnover of Chelsea Football Club, then you're not in trouble.
Yeah, but it's not though because they haven't registered it because it's a loan.
Yeah, well,
it's weird. I don't get it.
No, I don't get it either, and I can't answer the question.
All right, because we'll just have to try and figure it out again.
Football
tomorrow.
Laws are too complicated
for
me.
Very, very complicated. Mr. Parry, thank you very much indeed. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics.
Look at the light.
Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.
Isn't it fair to describe Christine Hendra as a woman with an ample bust?
I suppose so. It's just rather old-fashioned.
Exactly. Well, I'm being polite and gentlemanly.
Are you?
And recently, Mum and Dad had given me £5 for a tooth. I'd have pulled all my teeth out in one night. I would. That'd be brilliant.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.